to the Americas. There should be more law schools from the Americas, given the number of law schools that are and law faculties that are in the Americas. I think one of the difficulties with respect to engaging law schools in the Americas outside of the United States is particularly Latin America's language barrier. So we haven't yet to figure out how to overcome that. We certainly can't be in the business of translating all our meetings. Our meetings are in English, and that's the way it is going to be for the probably foreseeable future. With respect to administration, you guys know these people. This is the Office of the President. Most of the administrative burden is for the IALS is carried by the Office of the President and the Office of the General Secretary Treasurer, and there are our key people, Martha and Natalie. And, it's not there. There they are. These are our total assets. Again, this is as of the end of the third quarter, September 30th, as of September 30th of this year. So that, again, by year end, that figure should go up somewhat. We've enjoyed a steady increase in our cash assets since we became an independent administration in 2012. But the growth has slowed somewhat in the last year or so. We now have a financial investment committee, which is, instead of having our money under the mattress, we're starting to invest our funds, but very conservatively, because we can't take much risk with your money. The forums and meetings. First, the Regional Law Deans Fora. These are the themes from the 2017 regional meetings. We've been looking at evaluation, assessment, and certification programs, as well as looking at into researching how we can determine whether or not we're being successful in our member schools in employing the Singapore Declaration and Madrid Protocol guidelines, as well as integrating the judicial standards. So the regional meetings for 2017 were the Asia Pacific was held in Indonesia, the African Law Deans Forum was in Ghana, the European Law Deans Forum was in Jordan, and the Americas Law Deans Forum was supposed to be held in Dominican Republic, but it was postponed because of the hurricane. The pictures are a little off there. I think the African Law Deans Forum picture is actually the European Law Deans, but that's okay.
You mess with people's minds, right? Barbara, sorry.
Yes, the important people are in front in all of them. So. This shows the past hosts for our regionals ever since the first one after we became independent, with the University of Benda in South Africa and rounding out the African Law Deans Forum in Zambia. And then you see the list of the forums going back before 2012. The past regionals. So in 2018, so far we have a commitment to hold the African Law Deans Forum at University of Cape Town, and Penny Andrews has graciously agreed to be our host for that meeting. The Americas Law Deans Forum will probably still be in the Dominican Republic, so long as we're not again threatened with some kind of horrible, catastrophic weather event. We don't have a commitment for the Asia Pacific Law Deans Forum yet. We have some possibilities, and we're also looking for a host for the European Law Deans Forum. If you'll recall, those forums, we try to hold the forums between March and June, so it'll be somewhere between March and June of 2018. If someone would like to step forward and make a proposal to host one of those two meetings, we'd be most grateful. With regard to our past Global Law Deans forums, the first one was in Singapore, and then the second one, because they're biennial, the second one was in Madrid. Past annual meetings. The first was at Emphasis outside Bangalore and Mysore. The 2015 was at IALS, Segovia, Spain, and then last year's annual meeting was at Hastings Law School. So I want to thank all of our previous hosts for those meetings. And these are the past hosts for the various forums going back to, I think, 2004, with Frank's University hosting the first annual meeting, and then Symbiosis, of course, is the most recent host. With regard to the future annual meetings, we have a commitment from Doha, Qatar Law School there to host the 2018 annual meeting. We had a commitment for a host for the 2019 annual meeting in Global Law Deans Forum, but that law school has just not that long ago told us that it won't be able to host it. So we're trying to find a plan B with regard to the 2019 annual and global. We have some ideas and some possibilities with regard to how to deal with that issue. And then we have a commitment from Gdansk Law School in Poland to host the 2020 annual meeting, which will be their 50th anniversary. So I think that's why they picked that date. With regard to programs, doctrinal study groups. We began the work on for the doctrinal study groups about 2 years before the 2015 meeting in Segovia. The idea for the study groups germinated during the regionals in 2014 and 2015, and then we launched the doctrinal study group program in Segovia in 2015. And we now have 11 study groups which are fully functioning. And this shows the representation among our membership faculty on the study groups. We have more than 100 faculty members who are participating in the study groups from all regions. Note that Africa, which is one of our smaller representation with regard to numbers of law schools, is outsized representation with regard to membership on the study groups. So very robust participation in the study groups from Africa, which is great. The Americas is quite thin, but again, a number of member schools from the Americas is lower than it should be. These are the chairs of our study groups. Wilfred for civil procedure from Kenya. Andrew for commercial law from Qatar. Luis is doing constitutional law. Bettina is doing constitutional law as well. They're co-chairing. Emmanuel is doing contract law. And Professor Kata for commercial law. Criminal law, sorry. Environmental law is Ricardo. Family law, Norma Martin from Leeds. Human Rights Law Study Group is being led by Shito Kalantri. Narina is doing international law, Ching Han, legal entities, and Anthony is our property law chair. With regard to the structure of the study groups, again, they were formed at the annual meeting in 2015 in Segovia. And what's their purpose? They're meant to get the IALS faculty members together who are in the same law specialty, get them engaged in the work of the IALS in order to help us reach our goal of improving legal education globally. We've established an online platform for each study group so that the members of the study groups can talk with each other and exchange things like syllabi, ideas for curriculum, papers, etc. Again, those are the goals of the study group, the model curriculum, to help with the certification program, to develop a different template for curricula so that the faculty can contextualize the model curricula to their own particular situation. And we hope that the study group members will help form be members of the committee to work on the certification program. Our other program is the Visiting Professor Program. The goals of that program are to promote international collaboration among our faculty, our member schools, to promote diversity within each member school by having visitors from other countries. The selection committee and the committee that really runs the program is chaired by Narina Becerra, and Valentina is on the committee, as well as Brad Morris from Thompson River in Canada, and Professor Guthra from India, and Professor Kenneth Williams from South Texas College of Law. The process, I'll talk about in a moment, but here's our 2018 visitor who's going to be visiting from University of Pretoria in South Africa, and he's going to be visiting at Gandhina National Law University here in India. This will be our second visiting professorship. The first was done as a pilot program, and the host school institution then was St. John's, and the visitor also came from South Africa. In the future, we want to try, in order to increase the diversity of the people who are able to participate in the program, as well as the member schools who are able to host the program, we would like to increase the program to two visitors per year rather than the one that we originally envisioned, so that we'd have one visiting professor per semester. One of the challenges has been, I think, that having someone visit at another school for an entire semester often is difficult for not the host institution, but rather for the institution that's giving up the person who is going on a visit. So we're exploring ways to try to deal with that problem so as to be able to perhaps increase the number of people who are interested in being part of the visiting professor program. The way that it works is that we've sent out a call to our member schools for those asking who would be interested in hosting a visiting professor, and then we also send out a call to our faculty members asking for interest in being a visiting professor. The person then submits their credentials to the committee, and the committee selects from among those people those applicants who meet the criteria that the host institution has defined. Oftentimes that has to do with subject matter. So And then those, a selection is made of about 3 candidates who are then, those names are then forwarded to the host institution, and the host institution makes a final decision as to who the visiting professor should be. If you might recall, the host institution makes a commitment to provide housing, a meal plan, transportation, office, etc., a chance to teach for the visiting professor, as well as a chance to participate in workshops, present papers, etc. Our final program that we've been working on, of course, we've been talking about a great deal during it was indeed the focus of the Dean's Conference that we've just concluded, is the Evaluation, Assessment, and Certification Program. So since most of you have been exposed to this a lot, I won't spend much time talking about it, but I'll just give you some idea of what we've been doing with regard to trying to formulate the program. We've held 2 legal education workshops in California to a small group of us discussing the parameters for the program, the questions we need to be asking, etc. We've been working with our legal education experts, that one of whom is here, that you've already heard from, Patricia O'Sullivan, who's been giving us a valuable insight into how to set up such a program. I think Mary Kay and Frank met with the Carnegie Foundation, because Carnegie is one of the leaders in research on